Yeah, it's my life. Wrong words, I guess.
Making Love Out of Nothing at All, written by Melise Lindenya, now and forever. In the beginning, there were two royal sisters, and they loved each other wholly and unconditionally. The older sister burned with endless fire, a shining beacon of warmth who bestowed light unto the world she ruled, spreading her glory over its surface. Her name was Celestia, and she was the sun, and she loved her sister very much. The younger sister stalked in the shadows of the stars, her subtle touch gracing the land with darkness and subtle beauty. Her name was Luna, and she was the moon, and she loved her sister very much. For an eternity, they ran across the fields of Equestria together, bringing the night and day with them in a cycle without end. They played and nipped at one another, and nuzzled and slept side by side, with their bodies pressed against one another, taking comfort in the presence of the other. They spoke of art and mathematics and philosophy, and shared ideas that defied mortal comprehension, an intellectual union of minds that was much greater than the sum of its parts. One day, as they settled down in a bed of roses, Celestia spoke. "Sister mine, I love you." "And I you, my sister," replied Luna, nuzzling Celestia. "Truly, we are joined in every way that two ponies can be joined. And we share every love that two ponies can share." Celestia did not nuzzle Luna back. "You are sad, my love." Luna frowned as she looked up at her sister. "What troubles you so?" Celestia sighed. "I wish there were others who could enjoy the love that we share. It is such a wonderful thing, and the thought that only we two may experience it fills me with mourning for that which does not exist." Luna pondered this statement. What if we could create others who could experience love? Celestia looked up in shock at her sister. "You would make life for me?" Luna shook her head. "I would make love for you, dear sister." She smiled. It was bright. "There can be no higher calling than to do so. It is not a task that can be undertaken lightly," Celestia warned. "To create a thinking being will entail many responsibilities and require much consideration. So shall it be, but the price shall be worth the effort." "Indeed. Shall we begin on the morrow?" "Yes." And so it was decided that the royal sisters would create life and breathe love into their creation. That night, they fell asleep in the other's embrace, ready to take the next step in their dance of infinity. In the morning, their work began. It was agreed that the thinking life they would create would be made in their image and would be given a heart to understand love. "Our love has many aspects," Luna said as they shaped the creatures who would become their charges. "We must be sure to carry the capability to express each one." "You speak true, my love." Celestia looked out at the field of souls who would inhabit the bodies they had created. "Which aspect should we first impart upon the ponies?" "Truth," replied Luna. "That is the foundation of love. Without it, we could never know its depths. We trust each other, completely and without question, and from that form of love do all others come." "Agreed." Celestia's horn lit and Luna's followed. honesty is a fitting aspect to first bestow upon our ponies. From this, all else shall follow. And so did the sisters draw upon the trust in their hearts for one another, recalling all the times they turned away from deception and spoke truth, even when it hurt in the moment, as they held in their minds the certainty that there would be no true secrets between them. The first sparks of love filled their ponies, and so did they take their first breaths, understanding the fundamental truths of themselves as their cutie marks appeared on their flanks. The sisters released the ponies into the land, and with the strength of their honesty, they were able to build trust and form compacts to aid one another and live in peace. And so, at the end of the first day, Celestia and Luna looked upon their creations and saw that it was good. They went to sleep laying side by side on the soft flowers, knowing that they would always be able to share counsel with one another. On the second morning, the sisters awoke and began their work anew. Trust is the foundation of love, but it is nothing without understanding, Celestia said. It is our empathy that allows us to sense each other's feelings and behave accordingly. We understand when to be playful with one another and when to be stern, and when we need to allow each other to weep or mourn. Luna nodded and prepared her spell. Kindness, the pillar that supports love. It is kindness which allows love to flourish and grow and stand fast against adversity. Together, they imparted their shared compassion for one another on their charges. And so did the ponies learn to consider each other's feelings and to act with kindness. And thus did the contracts of necessity become something more, as ponies began to seek out ways to help their fellow mares whenever possible. At the end of the second day, Luna and Celestia watched their ponies love, and they saw that it was good. They went to sleep, curled up together, knowing that they would always be there to comfort each other. When they awoke, Luna once again pondered which aspect of love to impart upon her ponies. Our love is steadfast and will not falter in the face of adversity. Luna's gaze was fierce, determination burning in her eyes as she spoke. At the core of our trust is the knowledge that we will never leave one another, and that we will always support each other when needed. The strength of our bond is the bulwark of our love. Celestia felt her own heart fill with resolve at Luna's words. Loyalty is a fitting aspect to grant upon our ponies today. And so, on the third day, the sisters gave unto the ponies the ability to form bonds that could endure even the harshest storms. And so did ponies begin to stay with each other and share in their love in more than just fair weather. The sisters saw this devotion, and it was good. That night, they embraced in their sleep, knowing they would protect one another until the end. As the fourth day dawned, Luna was awoken by Celestia bringing her a bundle of rare flowers for her to break fast with. Luna thanked Celestia, but Celestia waved off this thanks. I would have done for you not, but what you would have done for me, Celestia explained. With understanding comes action, and so do we show our love by giving what the other needs. Generosity. Luna ate the flowers and pondered her love for Celestia. It is the hoof that gives love its wings and allows it to better the world. Our ponies should be taught to express their love with gifts. With their magic, the sisters bestowed upon their ponies the gift of giving, so that they might share with one another their love and express the depths of it. And it was good. On the fourth night, the sisters held hooves as they slept, a reminder of the bounties they had given unto each other. When they awoke, Luna was so filled with joy in seeing Celestia's visage that she broke out in a joyous laughter. Celestia was surprised at this, but soon joined in. And so it was that the fifth day was a day of celebration and glee, and laughter was given unto the ponies, so that they might reap the seeds of love they had sown. The sisters fell asleep with a smile on their faces, and so did the sixth day dawn upon them. The bonds of love allow us to be greater than the sum of our parts. With that we could give unto the ponies the magic we wield, so that they might experience the power of love themselves. We can bestow a measure of ourselves in them, Luna said. To each pony we shall give one of our spirits. Some shall wield the power of the earth and could be as strong as the land itself. Others shall take to the skies with their wings and play among the clouds. And the final third shall bend reality itself to their will, as we do, but only in working together will they achieve their full potential. And so it was. On the sixth day, the sisters gave the ponies magic and taught them friendship and imparted the last aspect of their shared love unto them. Or so they thought. When the seventh day dawned, Celestia was still not content. Something is missing, she said, frowning as she watched the ponies come together to form the first civilizations. They are as we are, Luna replied, confused. They love as we do. Yes, and yet it is not enough. Celestia's eyes widened. We are not enough. Do you not feel it? The emptiness that yearns to be filled? Luna searched her mind and heart. We are blind, she whispered, realization dawning on her. We could not see it in ourselves, but it is clear in the others. They are not as close as they could be. There is something more, something beyond the love we share that we have not yet experienced. They need something more. We need something more. Despair clawed at Celestia's heart, for she did not know what it was they needed. It is something of love, and thus it cannot be something from only one of us. Celestia paused. There is still something I have not given you of myself. The fire of the sun. And I have kept the subtlety of the moon to myself. Perhaps it is time to see where our love might take us next. Luna's horn lit with magic, and she touched it to Celestia. Both sisters channeled their celestial aspects, and when they opened their eyes, they saw each other truly for the first time. You are beautiful. Celestia's voice was filled with wonder as she beheld the splendor of Luna's form. With the moon's insight, she could now see how her sister's delicate coat framed the perfect curves of her body. And I desire you. The sun's passion burned within Luna, and when she gazed at Celestia, her appreciation for her form sparked a hunger in her soul, creating a yearning she had never felt before. This thirst cannot be quenched with water or wine, Celestia lamented as the fire in her soul spread throughout her body. What have we wrought upon ourselves? Luna reached out to touch Celestia, and a shudder coursed through her body as she felt the fire in her mind dim, only to ignite once again a moment later, stronger than before. "I need you," she whispered, understanding that what she needed could only come from her sister. In desperation, she allowed her soul to guide her mind, acting on her first impulse, and leaned over towards Celestia, her muzzle pressed against her sister's, and for a moment, all was right in the world. Celestia stiffened in shock, but did not pull back, allowing the heat of Luna's lips to meld with her own. Pleasure unlike anything she had ever felt before suffused her body, and her fire burned even brighter than it had before. Her heart pounded wildly as they finally broke apart. "What was that?" she gasped out, her mind still unable to comprehend what they had just shared. I don't know," Luna replied shakily, "but I think I desire more of it." "As do I, sister." This time, when they pressed their muzzles together, Luna's tongue slid out to probe Celestia's lips. Obeying some deep compulsion brewing within her, Celestia opened her mouth and allowed Luna entrance. Stars unlike any in the sky or Luna's mane exploded in Celestia's mind as her breath caught in her throat. Luna, her dear beloved eternal sister, was inside of her, and it felt infallibly right, a key sliding smoothly into its lock. As the embrace continued and brought new joy into her life, Celestia began to feel her passion pool around her thighs, and an ache that was torment and yet paradise building up in her cores as it began to feel wet. She needed to soothe the fire in her loins to end the torture by any means necessary. And yet this ache felt good. And part of her wanted to revel in it even as she sought to assuage it. When they pulled apart to catch their breaths, Celestia looked into Luna's eyes and knew in her heart that her sister was struggling with the same demons and desire as her. "That was marvelous," Luna breathed, her voice low and hot. "What shall we call it?" Celestia pondered this, though her body still cried out for relief. "I thought we should call it kissing." Luna tasted the word on her tongue. "I like it. Kiss me, sister, and soothe the savage beast that has awakened within us." Celestia could do naught but obey, and this time she explored Luna's mouth with her tongue. Her hooves began to wander. The sisters had caressed each other before, marveling in their soft coats and firm muscles, but this time, as she dragged a hoof across Luna's withers, a lightness passed over her head, as intoxicating as the finest wine. She pressed harder, savoring the rise and fall of Luna's barrel against her hoof as she breathed, and feeling more connected to her than she had ever before. As she deepened the kiss, Luna responded by wrapping her forelegs around Celestia's neck and pulling them closer. Her hold was comforting, as it normally was, but this time, there was a closeness that felt much more raw and primal. It made Celestia long to become one with her sister. "More," Luna breathed, pushing Celestia against the ground. I need more, sister. Celestia could only murmur an affirmative as she allowed Luna to drive her onto her back, her forelegs spread outward. Luna set herself down atop Celestia a moment later. Pressing their bellies together, she began to nuzzle Celestia's neck, and a moan escaped from Celestia's lips as icy heat flowed down her spine at the sensation, drawing more wetness out from within her loins. Immediately, her sister pulled back, concern etched into her expression. "Did I hurt you?" It took Celestia a moment to realize that she must have sounded as if she was in pain during the throes of satiation. "No, sister," she replied, desperate for her touch. "You were granting unto me such pleasure as I had never known before, and I could scarce contain my delight. Please do not cease in your ministrations." Luna smiled. "Anything for you, my love." She bent down, and Celestia was once again lost in paradise as Luna began to kiss her on the neck, the shoulder, and even her belly, sending butterflies through her heart and stomach. "Does this feel good?" "Yes." Still, the ache between her legs continued to pulse, and she needed relief from it. "Lower," she moaned. "Please, sister, go lower." "Do you feel longing there too?" Luna murmured as she complied, her muzzles sliding downward and leaving a delicious trail of kisses down her barrel until she reached the juncture of Celestia's thighs. "I think this is the source of the fire that we sparked." Luna placed a hoof over her sister's core, pressing lightly against the top of the slit there. The fire that had seared her soul and loins ever since they joined their aspects now erupted into an inferno, and Celestia cried out with such ferocity that Luna reared back in shock. Fear and horror washed over her expression. Celestia, lost in the keening need that had consumed her mind, could only gasp out a desperate plea. "Continue! Please do that again!" To her relief, Luna complied, and once again Celestia was treated to pleasure beyond imagination as she rubbed slowly against the top of her slit. "I long to taste you." Luna's voice too was ragged, breathless. "I think I know how to quench this thirst. Will you allow me to kiss you here?" "Yes!" The words were shouted out to the heavens as Celestia bucked her hips against Luna's hoof. "Yes! 1,000 times yes! Kiss me, dear sister, and soothe this agony." "As you wish." Luna's head bent downward, and then her tongue was inside Celestia once again. But this time, it invaded the slick channel, which had grown sopping wet during the course of their mutual exploration. And as Luna traced out the contours of her inner walls, Celestia's hips began to thrash in response to the sweet torment that assailed her. "Faster!" she cried out, and Luna complied, her tongue thrusting in and out and stimulating her folds with wild abandon. A pressure began to build up within her core, and Celestia knew that she was approaching some peak, some grand conclusion of this union they shared. As her hunger reached a fever pitch, her gaze focused on her sister's head to be able to share in this wonderful experience. To make this journey alongside her was the greatest pleasure of all. "Do not stop!" Celestia shouted as she felt the peak approaching. Her hoof slid downward and rubbed against the top of her slit, pressing against the small nub at its tip. She thought of how much she loved her sister and how she could share everything with Luna, including her heart and soul, Only with her was she complete, and she wished to share this union only with her. And then she crossed the threshold of ecstasy. "I have come home!" Wave upon wave of raw pleasure crashed over her, and she screamed and bucked and was filled with so much love for Luna that Celestia could not breathe. The ultimate release from the hunger that had consumed her, transmuted into something that wiped her mind completely blank. Her inner walls convulsed around Luna's tongue, which dutifully wrung out every last drop of love from her with each thrust. Celestia's legs twitched as the aftershocks of release continued to rack her body, her lungs gasping for air. "That was wonderful," she said when she could finally draw breath. "I have never loved you as much as I do now, dear sister." "And I you, dear sister." Luna's head rose and the hunger still burned in her eyes. Celestia realized that she was not done yet, and found herself eager to bring Luna to the same pleasure that had been granted unto herself. "Lie back, Luna," she said. "Let me free you from this torment." "Thank you, Celestia." Luna looked positively adorable as she rolled onto her back, her hooves waggling in the air and her thighs glistening with the same liquid desire that Celestia had felt between her own legs. Remembering the delightful pleasure pain the action had stirred within her, the sound of Luna's soft gasp was music to her ears as she savored the softness of Luna's coat beneath her hoof. "Soon, dear sister," Celestia murmured as she stroked the inside of Luna's thigh. "I know how much pleasure the hunger can bring when teased into a frenzy." You speak true, my love, and yet I know not if I can take more of this pleasure." Luna shuddered, and Celestia's eyes devoured the sight of her sister lost in the throes of desire. Though she had been sated, it still brought her great satisfaction. It brought her great satisfaction knowing that she was the cause of such intense passion. Very well. Luna's scent was intoxicating, and Celestia bent down and gave her slits a long, hard lick, delighting in how Luna's hips bucked upward in response. With her hoof, she gently pried apart her inner walls and nearly wept at the beauty of her delicate pink folds glistening like leaves in the morning dew. "Oh, Luna, how did I not see you truly until now?" "And I you, dear sister." Luna thrust her hips upward again. "Now please, grant me that which I desire." "I love you, Luna." With that declaration, Celestia dove into Luna's core, licking and sucking and nibbling in all the places where she remembered feeling the most pleasure from. As connected as she was with Luna, she knew when she had discovered a way to bring Luna to new heights of ecstasy and bring her even closer to the edge of release. "Celestia, I... Luna thrashed and moaned, and when she suddenly stiffened, Celestia knew what was coming. "Let it all out, Luna," she commanded, placing her lips over the small bud at the base of her slit and sucking hard. "Show me your love." I love you, sister." A wave of wetness issued forth from Luna as she cried out in pleasure, and Celestia lapped up the nectar as she basked in the almost ritual act of taking Luna's essence into herself. She continued her ministrations, making sure to drag out every last inch of release from Luna with both hoof and tongue until her sister finally stilled. Celestia crawled back upwards and lay down beside Luna, feeling utterly spent. A hoof wrapped around her barrel, and she allowed herself to be pulled into a cuddle with Luna, both of them still smelling of sweat and each other's essence. "That was most wonderful, sister," Luna murmured as she nuzzled Celestia. "That we have never in our eternal existence experienced such pleasure before is a travesty." "Indeed." Celestia softly stroked Luna's mane, sincerity washing over her as the fires of her desire settled down into comfortable embers. "And I believe we have discovered what our ponies are missing." Celestia felt Luna smile against her coat. "The ultimate union of the sun and moon, and the joining of two flesh into one, the ability to make love, to feel this desire as we do. Our ponies would not be complete without it. Then let this be our final gift to our ponies, the love of creation and the creation of love." And so, as night fell on the 7th day, the royal sisters granted unto ponies the gift of lust, so that they might become one with each other in the ultimate union of love. And it was good.